7:40 now. We'll get a slice of good old-fashioned Western action with a new film that's available on streaming. Cody's standing by with one of the film's stars to get all the details. Hey,
That's
Cody.
right. Ladies and gentlemen, John Savage, the John Savage, joining us today. John, how are you, sir?
I'm doing a lot better now. Thanks.
Excellent, excellent. Big fan. I've followed your career forever. I'd like to go back and just, before we get to the business at hand, ask you a couple questions. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Let's talk about Do the Right Thing. You had one scene in that movie, and it was amazing. How long were you actually on set for that?
I was on my way to the airport. I stopped at the set. I had my bike in the car. I was going to fly to South Africa to see my partners down there. And I jumped into what Spike had organized with those great folks in the movie, great actors. Oh. And I have a great deal of respect for Spike and all the work that he's done for our country, in my opinion. And that part of town actually goes back to my family. So I felt like I was going back to my heritage a little bit, for the Dutch community that was there years earlier. And now we have perhaps the most beautiful African-American community in the country right there, Brooklyn.
It was such an amazing scene, but you were only in set, like, what, 2 hours? That was it?
You know, I just thought it was all too fast, and it was really, really just a bunch of just kind of snap improv, a couple lines that Spike threw at us, and it was beautiful. It was, I mean, I'm a little older, but I used to live in Brooklyn when I was young, very young, Greenpoint, in those areas, and I saw the cultural differences as a kid, and I was told never go out, never get off the stoop kind of attitude. And the idea was we made friends with, brothers of some of the guys with the coats that are, kind of with the hair back and the jackets with the name on the backs, different gangs or whatever. But they would sing under the lights at night.
Get out.
Whoa. And it turned me on to just music. It was because that music was on the radio, and then I got to sing in church, and somebody heard me as a little kid, and people encouraged me, and I ended up singing in church choirs around that were used to go places. In school, I got help because I didn't do well in the academic end, but I love the music and theater, and thank goodness, I've been able to survive with that. It's a tough profession.
Yeah.
And I'm not really that advanced in the business. I'm getting older, but just to be able to work with so many different groups in so many different places and in my own country, to go up in Montana in the diverse community right in the center of the area there. I think it's Missoula. The Missoula River's there, and this Missoula area is called, and the history. All of a sudden, I was close to nature as it was a couple hundred years ago. The native communities still are part of that nature, with people's minds, the history of discussions with people. Oh, the Crow used to come here and get together with the other nations, the Cherokee, the Blackfeet, the whole idea. And then they'd come together, once a year and get into this other canyon and actually exchange within their families the heritage of cross, culture with peace. This daughter came from a brave that was with his community, and these are your aunts and uncles kind of things, and that community was all put together because of the women. In most that I know of, the nations that they talked about were the influence on the guidance of the tribe. The women would discuss the choice of the chief, how they were going to appropriate themselves with the world around them. So there was just these beautiful stories, and we had a couple of wonderful young actors. It was not a big budget film. It was just an inspiration from actually the actress Blanca Blanco, who's my friend and beautiful actress, and she has an association with the fellow who was involved, Mirish, who his father I think was one of the greatest filmmakers in this country, producers. And this man puts together a lot of cultural, charity and benefits, and he's a wonderful man. And they decided to make this movie about Mr. Martins and his wife do the novels of the West, Cat and Larry Martin. And we said, okay, let's do this little story. And he said, just be an angry wild rancher, greedy and angry. And so I was pretty much over the top with all that stuff. I enjoyed working with these young folks from the area. Most of the crowd was local.
Oh, really? That's so cool.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
It was great just the environment, the place, the people talking to these guys. They all had stories. And I was walking outside at Larry and Cat's Ranch, and one day, and we're surrounded by mountains and these mountain goats. I hear this one clatter of stones coming down, and this tiny little goat is hopping from like rock to rock, down, 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 and he's hopping in front of me. He stops, he looks at me, and then he takes off to jump over a fence. And he was really proud of himself. He turns around, and then I see the adults coming down slowly, like watching me, checking out the baby goat. And it was such a sense of like a community of wild and life itself. We have a lot of things to deal with regards to the future of all life. And I think now we're getting a little more conscious of it. With the help of those original people who lived here, we can make some changes, and change is always hard, but I think we're gonna do it. So I like making movies. Yeah. I like getting to make movies that go inside places like that with people. Yeah.
And I think it's wonderful too. We're getting westerns again. The westerns are getting hot again, and I love seeing the scenery and, like you were talking about, just the majestic of the American West.
Yeah, our relationship to the world around us is really gotten stressful, and it's not as rewarding as we see a lot of advances in our world, and now we're having difficulties with accepting that. Whether it's medicine or the change of energy or things that could be very positive, a lot of people are confused. Where is the value of life? Where is it? Is it in kindness? Is it in, we have three words in a book I read: faith, hope, and love. And of these, let love be the longest and the strongest of all these things. And that was by a Jewish rabbi, I think, named Paul. But this beautiful essence of what we are, we've advanced with. Now we got to take care of it, and we can do it between each other, I think.
Well, John Savage, thank you so much for spending a little time with us today. I really enjoyed this, man. Let me tell you, Eye for an Eye, it's out. It's streaming right now. Check it out. But, John, please write a book. I want to know more of what's going on in here, man. Write a book.
Yeah, I'll quote a book that Blanca wrote called The Breaking of the Mold. Breaking the Mold by Blanca Blanco. You can get it on Barnes & Noble or order it. And it's about the essence of migration the hard way, and poverty and struggle and abuse and violence, and that psychology that a lot of children have in order to survive. And they grow into great leaders and people, and like Blanca shows in this film, where her character is, pretty simply a courageous, independent woman with a child.
Fantastic. John, we got to run. I would talk to you all day, but we got to run. Thank you very much for joining us. I appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Back to you, Court.
All right. Thanks, Code. Well, get creative and loosen up with a little craft and sip. Lori Wallace got a preview of some woodworking classes earlier this morning. Take a look.